boys and girls. Since I've arrived, I've loved picking more strawberries. I haven't been able to stop eating. It kind of reminded me of a story that I can tell you about a king who couldn't stop eating. Come with me. This story is called The King Who Ate Too Much. Long ago, in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a greedy king. Now, the one thing that the king did love, more than anything else in the world, was food. He simply couldn't get enough of it. Ever since he was a little prince, he had been allowed to eat whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And because he was always eating, he just kept getting fatter and fatter and fatter. When he became king, his appetite seemed to get even bigger. He soon woke in the morning and have his servants bring him a huge breakfast. After eating several huge steaming bowls of porridge, he would eat slice after slice of hot buttered toast and jam, followed by boiled eggs that the royal chickens laid. In case he got a little hungry, mid-morning, he would have a snack, usually 10 or more chocolate cakes, washed down with just as many mugs of tea. At lunchtime, the table would groan with the weight of all the pies and sandwiches, fruits, biscuits, everything that the greedy king was going to gobble down. For afternoon tea, it would be cakes, cakes, and more cakes. But the biggest meal was supper. The royals cooked and toiled all day long to prepare his feast. When it was time for the king to eat, one servant after another would carry in great bowls of steaming soup, plates of fish, followed by huge roasts of dishes of vegetables. Down it went, and then he would go to bed for the night. But the king's greedy habits also made him a very thoughtless king. No one dared to tell him that much of the wealth of the kingdom had to be spent on his meals. In the meantime, his loyal subjects were hungry and becoming poor. One day, just after the king had eaten his usual big lunch, he began to feel very strange. Not only did he feel even bigger than usual, he also felt really light. Suddenly, without any warning, he started floating up from the table and into the air like a big balloon. "Help, get me down!" he cried. The royal courtiers and servants jumped up and down, but they couldn't grab the king as he floated upwards. Before anyone knew, he had floated out the castle window, across the royal grounds, and went over the river and towards the woods. Soon the king began to float over a small farm. He looked down and saw that the farmers' children, dressed only in rags, were searching for firewood. They were very thin. Some hungry cows stood nearby, chewing on some few small pieces of hay. Over the next farm he floated, he saw a similar scene. Dressed in rags, the poor farmer and his family toiled away trying to get enough to eat. Next he floated over a small village. Everywhere he looked had shabby, run-down houses. They all needed repair. Every farm and every village the king floated over told the same story of hunger and misery. He had been so busy enjoying himself and eating that he hadn't even given a thought to the plight of his subjects. While he was there getting fatter and fatter, they were getting thinner and poorer. Now, a gust of wind was blowing. The king backed to his castle. As he was passing over the castle, he suddenly felt himself falling. Down, down, until he landed back with a big thud. That very day, the king sent out a royal proclamation. All his loyal subjects were to come to the castle for a huge feast, after which they would all be given a purse full of gold. As for the king, he was never greedy again. Instead of spending all his money on food for himself, he gave enough to all the people in the land so that they would never be poor or hungry again. The end.